Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Tuesday, June the 7th. Let's start with national news. Last night, the Associated Press and NBC declared that Hillary Clinton had obtained pledges and commitments and won enough delegates to be nominated, assured of the nomination to be the Democratic candidate for president this year. This came as something of surprise to both her and Bernie Sanders, her challenger. There's several primary states to be contested today, the big ones in California and New Jersey. I think they both expected to have those hashed out before there was a declaration of victory. The outcome of those primaries today won't change the outcome mathematically, but a loss in the big states for Hillary certainly would cloud the picture a little bit, since Bernie vows to go on through the convention and try and persuade the superdelegates who committed to Hillary Clinton a long time ago that they should back him instead, that he's somehow more electable. Ernie Dumas has a column for the Arkansas Times this week, which is online at arkansasblog.com, that deals with that issue of Hillary's likability and supposedly the aversion some people have to her on a personal level. He puts it down through his many years of experience, by the way, and some very specific incidents, to her obsession with wanting to have privacy. It's something that doesn't fit very well with a life in public, and it sometimes causes her problems. It's an interesting article. I urge you to read it. Donald Trump continues to make news, including in Carter, in Arkansas, by the lack of people having anything to say here about what he said about a judge hearing his Trump University case. He's made some racially tinged remarks, racist, many say. Even some Republicans in national office say they're racist. People in Arkansas have been silent, notably silent at the highest levels on what Donald Trump has had to say. Connor Eldridge, the Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate, has called on his opponent, Republican Senator John Bozeman, to repudiate those remarks. Bozeman has remained silent. Interestingly enough, and you can see this on Arkansas Blog too, Davy Carter, the Republican, who's the former Speaker of the Arkansas House and is currently out of office and working in banking, has had a number of critical things to say about Donald Trump. He seems aghast at having such a person represent the party. He hadn't yet had anybody in office today join him in that criticism, perhaps because Trump seems so likely to carry Arkansas. Big news today on the state government front. The new director of the State Department of Human Services completed a 60-day review and announced today a reorganization of the giant agency, which gets billions of dollars, mostly in federal money, to help the poor, the disabled, the needy, elderly, and other people in grave straits. It was all about organization. She's going to talk about clients later. She said she's going to make the agency more efficient, she thinks, without spending more money, and deliver services better. I've observed that sometimes an agency that deals with such hard cases, efficiency is a little hard to apply to some of these really perplexing problems they face. But reorganization there will be. Also on the local political scene, more about Tom Cotton. He was featured in a column in the New York Times that was published today by Frank Bruni, and it's an awful story. Cassandra Butts, a wonderful person by every account, a longtime friend of President Obama, a Harvard Law graduate, a capable person, because of her friendship and her skills, had been nominated to be an ambassador to the Bahamas by President Obama. Simply because Tom Cotton wanted to prove a political point with President Obama on an unrelated matter, he held up her nomination to be ambassador to Bahamas, not a strategic post, for more than 830 days. 2.25 years Tom Cotton held up this nomination because he was trying to worm something out of the president on something else. Unfortunately, Cassandra Butts died before that nomination could be confirmed. It's still being held by Tom Cotton. And he held her confirmation specifically because she was a friend of the president. He insists he thought that he respected her and thought she was a wonderful person. What a strange way to show your respect from somebody, by punishing them out of a reward that they deserved and should have gotten but for Tom Cotton. I hope this story gets a lot of attention. It's not the first time he's placed his political interests ahead of those of people, such as when he stood in the way of hurricane aid for people hit by Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast. Elsewhere, 16 apartments were destroyed in a fire last night at the New Horizon Apartments in North Little Rock. No details yet about how that fire began. And an offbeat story dug up by Newsweek this week. There's a group of sympathizers to ISIS, the radical Islamists who are raising sand in the Middle East. They've been hacking low-level websites to make a point that they can get in and discombobulate daily life for a lot of people. Well, their latest targets were none other than the Arkansas Library Association. They've released to the World Wide Web, or at least an app on the web, the names, addresses, and email addresses of the 800 members of the Arkansas Library Association. When you've gone after Arkansas librarians, what's next? The librarians seem to be taking it in stride, and the FBI doesn't seem to think there's potential for great risk as a result of this action. That's the news today. I'm Max Brantley.